Hey guys, I'm on today with Nick and Greg from Luminous Labs. Guys, thanks for joining me today. How's your day been so far?
Thanks for
Yeah,
having
thanks for
us.
having us. It's been good.
Yeah,
Good.
it's a
Busy,
Just
nice,
been
hammering
nice.
away.
really busy week, but we're getting
Yeah.
through it as how it always is. But
Absolutely. Yeah, it never seems to end.
no,
Living by our calendars is subject to change at any given moment, which makes it fun and interesting. Um,
absolutely.
so we'll just kind of jump right in here. So
Mm.
if you guys want to answer individually or as a pair, we'll kind of just let that flow. So if you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
Oh, I would say the at least from the standpoint of our business, I would have incorporated immediately, just because it was such a headache to try and get that sorted out after we had started. The reason why we hadn't is just because Nick had actually started Luminous Labs uh, for a different product originally, but I when we wanted to do the rendering company, I liked the name, so we just sort of absorbed it. Um, but that kind of led to some problems down the road, just because I guess that just the kind of partnership that we had set up was, I guess, very uncommon. And so then we had to go and basically just kind of battle it out with all the documents and everything like that to sign it. Where it's like, if I had my time back, we would have just kept the name,
Yeah.
but we would have just got rid of the
Incorporated
partnership
right
immediately.
away.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
that,
we went from a sole proprietor to a partnership to an incorporation within like
Yeah.
a year and a half. So just the kind of back and forth between getting all that sorted out was quite a hassle.
and actually too, because we had when we incorporated the bank accounts, like all the credit that we had with the partnership, more or less, kind of got reset. So we didn't start with I mean, it's a fairly small credit card, so it's like it's manageable, but we it's like half of what we had with the partnership. So it's like when we ever have to make purchases with that, sometimes we have to just like move stuff around because sometimes the purchases we make are literally bigger than the credit card. So that's no really big regrets, I guess, from like a product standpoint, but that would have saved us a lot of headache had we done that right from the beginning.
Yeah, and I'd say just probably, I mean, internally, there was definitely some organization things
Yeah.
that we could have figured out. Like we didn't use Dropbox. We were trying to send files back and forth. So it was a little bit hectic
Oh,
at the beginning. So some of that stuff,
yeah.
I guess, would be great in hindsight to have figured out. But then I'd say
Hmm.
externally, what would we do differently? Probably just, make as many connections as possible, talk to as many people as we can just to grow your network when you're first starting
Yeah.
off.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some of those synergies and systems and stuff are always the last things to get started, and then you create them and you're like, why didn't I just do this from the beginning?
Well, but
Yeah.
Things would have been so much easier.
you have to it takes time though, because really it's like when we first started the business, we were like we didn't really need Dropbox. It's just that as we started like getting more jobs and it got more complicated, then we realized that we were like, okay, well, we're spending all this time uploading and downloading. Like, we may as well just have something that can kind of do all that work for us. Like, if we just leave the computers on overnight. So that one is like, I definitely get where Nick's coming from, but it's also like, I think at the very beginning, we would have been like, oh, we don't need Dropbox. Like, we have like
Yeah.
this system is working. It just kind of evolved over time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean sometimes sitting back and creating a forward-thinking plan on where you want to go sets up some of those things and intervals along the way. So what would you say have been your biggest learnings as employers since you began your business?
Um, well, I think too, just the nature of the business that we're in. Since we're doing a lot of construction companies, like I think the thing that I didn't expect the most, I guess, is that like the timelines really are much longer in the construction industry than you would kind of see in a lot of other industries. Like a year or two for a huge construction project is not it's not that big of a deal, but 2 years, sort of an our stream is an extremely long time.
Right.
So some like I think it was just kind of managing, I guess, not only kind of keeping the relationships going with the clients during that time, but also making sure that we're kind of staying on top of any changes that need to be made. That was something that I guess, like when I first started, or when we first started the business, I thought it would be kind of like it's like, okay, here's like the month we're going to do it, and then it's basically ready to go. But the timelines are so long that we may do a job and then 18 months later we're basically going back and changing some things because they realize like during construction that like they have to put a pillar there or they have to remove a pillar, they've got to put the lobby in like a different place, whatever it is. So I think that is, I guess, sort of within kind of the stream that we're in the construction industry, but that's something that it is definitely been a learning process, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, timelines continuously change,
Yeah.
especially with like COVID affecting everything, and then there's all kinds of different steps along the way. So that's good. Sorry, Nick, I didn't mean to cut you off. Was there something you were going to add there?
No, just kind of same thing, like communication, I guess, being a big thing for us anyway, just where there's so many moving parts. Just makes sense to try and, I guess, stay as organized as possible.
Absolutely.
With some of that stuff. Yeah.
So what do you find are some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
So the one thing, I guess, I'll just quickly go here first, Nick, because I know you're going to say the same thing. It's like cash flow definitely doesn't work in the way that you think it does. It's like, if you say you made like 200,000 in a year, you would think that they're all like all the months are fairly similar for like money coming in, but it's not uncommon that you have like one month where maybe you might only get like 5,000 that comes in, and then the next month it might be like 40,000. So that's like whatever the numbers are. Like I think running a business, at least when it comes to like the line of work that we're in, there's definitely more just, I guess, like it's not as consistent across the board as you might think. So you definitely have to adapt, where just because you may have got a lot in one month, it might just be because it's kind of coming from the next month, or you're basically catching up on one. So that's something that since I kind of set up some of the accounting and everything, I've definitely learned that it's, you sort of have to just be smart and looking at it like further out, not just month to month or even like quarter to quarter. You want to try and, I guess, always have money ready just for whenever you need it, which may sound kind of like basic, I guess, but it's something that at like, especially when you're first starting the business, it's easy to kind of get, you go buy new equipment or you go buy this, you go buy that, but it really is important just to kind of keep track of everything, I guess. Nick, if you want to kind of touch on that more.
No, that's kind of the same thing, is that it's not all fun and games. A lot of people think it's, your own boss, you make a bunch of money and it's just kind of, fun and games. You can do whatever you want, but it's really, there's a lot more, I guess, behind the scenes that just to stay on top of everything, to keep yourself organized, it's a lot. So I don't know if that's so much of a misconception, but I think we definitely underestimated
and
how much work goes into it.
Yeah, I'd agree with the term change there to being underestimating, like really smoothing out your financials over a 12-month rotation can be interesting, right? Because there could be a lot of peaks and valleys, especially with some accounts receivable and payables.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about how overwhelming things can be. So how do you find successfully or unsuccessfully you balance your personal life with your business life and try to keep those separate and work things in at the same time?
Do you want to answer first?
Yeah, it's definitely tough for us because we do both work from home. All our employees work from home. We kind of started at the beginning of COVID, so it really didn't make sense to look for offices or find office space. And just with how expensive everything's gotten and how much we're able to kind of keep our costs low by working from home, it just makes sense to kind of work from home for now. So it is difficult. But I find if you can find something you like I play pickup hockey on the weekend. So if you can find something that you can, I guess, write in your calendar, say you're not going to be home, you're going to be out doing this or going to the gym, whatever it is, just kind of booking that in and sticking to it, I find helps get your mind off things.
Yeah, and I definitely am not as good for this as I probably should be, but whether it's like going to the gym or going for a run or like whatever it is you do, you got to do something that's not sitting at your computer all day, because it'll be like, even if you work like if you work like a 12 to 15 hour day, like taking a 1 hour or like even like a 30-minute break to go for a walk or something, like it will help your productivity, I think. But that's something we kind of get bogged down a lot, where it's like if you're kind of like scrambling to get something out the door. There's like a deadline you have to hit. Like it's really easy just to sort of push all that stuff aside. But it's something that like we're definitely trying to get better with it. But
Yeah.
that's been
And
kind of a learning
it's
curve in
tough.
itself.
It seems like there's always stuff to work on too, whether it's,
Yeah.
updating your website or, updating some of your pricing sheets or some of your documents that you send out. Like you've always kind of want to have something that's up to date. So it's tough. It's definitely something I think we both still kind of struggle with a little bit, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't I don't think too many people have it mastered, that's for sure.
no,
But
it's tough.
we always let ourselves slide, and I think it reflects. You can tell when you're getting that burnout phase, and we always forget to invest a little bit in ourselves when we're thinking about cash flow and everything. It's like, well, if I can't stay awake or focus on something, then I'm definitely not going to be able to work on some of those more mundane activities that don't really get the adrenaline pumping. So that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. So you talked about a lot of your staff are working from home and remotely. So what qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster that positive work environment when everyone's working remotely?
Yeah, that is definitely a tough one. We tried to, I guess, like I don't know, we would have some fun and stuff like that. It really is tough with that though, because as convenient as it is to have a lot of people working from home, you do lose that, I guess, like workplace environment. So that one, I guess I don't really know how to answer that one truthfully, because that is a really tough one. Like there's a lot of advantages of working from home, but you definitely do lose something kind of along the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, no, we use a program called Discord to kind of have
Yeah.
everyone in a chat at once, and we can share screens, so you can kind of, if someone gets caught up, you can share your
Yeah.
screen and help out. But yeah, it's definitely not exactly like a traditional workplace environment. And we kind of weighed the cost, of not only paying for the office space, but then if we had an office over in Halifax, we'd have to drive back and forth. So that
Hmm.
played into it. But I guess, yeah, that's one of the, I guess, benefits that we're missing out on, is having that actual work environment that everyone's in. But we do um, like Mario Party on Fridays. We'll all get together and kind of
Just yeah, something like that.
like take a few hours and just kind of get our minds off the things, but also kind of connect that
Yeah,
way.
it's
We're all
kind of have some fun, but just to kind of keep things light, I guess, especially where like once Friday afternoon rolls around, like the reality is that like that's a lot of our clients are kind of out the door, especially in the summertime.
Right.
So if there is a time to do it, then we kind of found that that's the thing. And sometimes we may just go out and have a breakfast or something like that, just to kind of meet in person and just kind of talk, whether it's personal stuff or just related to the business. But yeah, that is it's a good question though, because that it really is tough, especially if you were to have like a large company that was mostly working online. Um, it's tough to kind of get those interpersonal relationships that can help things run smoother.
Has it changed how you approach and looking for certain employees when you're in an interview process with them?
Um, See, now I actually don't know if we've ever had a proper interview, because most of the time it was sort of like, um, it's we wanted to try and hire people local as much as we can. So we did know some of the people before we had hired them, and then we helped train them up. Um, so I don't know if we've ever actually had like a formal interview, at least to the extent that you would kind of like, you sort of picture like someone that you're meeting for the first time. Um,
Yeah, no,
but
it's
yeah,
it's tough, especially with our line of work too, because there's not really formal education for it. Like you
yeah,
can't say, oh, they went to so and so school for 3D rendering. A lot of it's self-taught. So when we are
yeah.
looking at, I guess, potential candidates, it's mainly going through their portfolio, um, seeing what kind of programs their profession in, and just kind of, yeah, I guess looking more so at the quality of work, and if it can
Mhm.
tie into kind of our system as well.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. As Nick said, like there is like you can get like I don't know, I don't know if it's we consider it a degree, but if you go to like some of these art schools, you can get things related to 3D modeling, but as you said, it doesn't like that doesn't necessarily translate into actually being like necessarily good at like what we do, because typically if you're going to like um those programs, it's kind of setting you up to work for like a large like movie company or a game company
Right.
where
Okay.
like you may be doing like one specific thing. So they kind of teach you how to be a part of the pipeline. Whereas with us, you kind of have to have a better idea on how to do the whole project. Because like if we're giving you a certain project, you may have to do like the exterior of a building, maybe doing the inside, you're doing virtual tours, whatever it is. So we personally like if someone could show me a portfolio and they're clearly good at it, then we would, try our best to incorporate them however we can.
Yeah, all those are good reasons. They
Yeah.
all make sense. So, um, you've obviously been going through some growth. So, what do you think has been one of the biggest contributing factors to the growth that you've been experiencing?
I definitely say the kind of boom that Halifax is
Hmm.
seeing has definitely helped us. So kind of a bit lucky in the sense that we, I guess, started when we did. We're both from Cole Harbour over in Dartmouth, so we've been here our whole life, and we've never really seen a whole lot of growth in Halifax. Not to the extent that
No.
it's going through right now. So that was definitely kind of, I guess, a key factor to the growth, but also just making the communications, I guess, trying to reach out to key people in the
Hmm.
construction industry and developers. So um, just kind of making yourself available and trying to chat with the right people, I think definitely can help growth in a really big way.
Yeah, that like I think too, like Nick and I, we definitely did get lucky just at the time that we started, but I think that we probably would have started the business regardless of, I guess, like how everything was going on around us. We may not have done it full time. We may have still, continued to work full time and done it on the side, but it's just because of how crazy everything is. It's all the buildings going up. People are kind of now getting a chance to build the buildings they've wanted to build for like, 10 years. So even if that wasn't going on, we may still have had the business going. We may just not have been able to do it full time.
Right, that makes sense. Has
Yeah.
there been a lane or a use of your business that you didn't see coming that's been a happy victory for you?
I'd
Sort of.
say, yeah. Well, I was going to say, Greg, the YouTube channel has kind of been a way to get some international clients. So we kind of do some tutorial stuff on YouTube and just kind of 3D general videos. And we were actually approached by a couple people from the States, different parts of Canada. So that was, I guess, an avenue that we didn't really expect. Like we were just kind of um, posting on there to share knowledge and kind of connect with other people in the industry, but it actually brought forth a good amount of work. So that was, I guess, one avenue that I didn't see being as, I guess, profitable as it is.
Awesome.
Hmm.
And then I guess kind of in closing here, what kind of advice do you have to anyone who might be kind of watching this interview in the future that's has an idea that they don't really know what to do and they're kind of experiencing a little bit of fear on making that leap into being entrepreneurs? What kind of advice do you have for someone like that?
Um, like I would say that like definitely look into like all the funding that you can. Like you'd kind of be surprised how much stuff is out there, and like even if you apply to 20 places and you only get one, you may still get like $5,000, which we were kind of lucky when we were starting up, at least just because when we had started the business like a month before COVID locked everything down. So we pretty much got like a year worth of work done in like 2 months, like setting up the website because we were just home the whole time.
Right.
So I'd say that like, basically get funding, and then if you can secure any funding, then put it like just immediately do the work you can to get the website set up and everything like that. Like, because I think that if there's kind of anxiety about starting it, I don't think that that's ever really going to go away. Like, I think even if you are an entrepreneur and you get more comfortable with starting businesses, I think there's always going to be that sort of like that stage fright. But that's something that any like artist or any performer, like they all say that no matter how many shows you play, you still get like goosebumps before you go out. But it's just that you get more used to kind of getting yourself out there, and then once you start playing, you're fine. So I think that like it, I guess to wrap that comment up, it's like if you do enjoy what you're doing, it makes it a lot easier. if you're starting a business and you don't really believe in the product that you're selling, it makes it much harder to sell that product, especially if things start to, kind of slow down or things are rough, because then you're like, well, it is a stupid product. Like, why would I sell that? So that's good. Like Nick and I both really enjoy what we do. So even if we weren't doing this as a business, we may still be, playing around with Unreal Engine or making video games and things like that. So it's something that we do enjoy. That makes it easier.
Yeah, I think finding people to like kind of connect with and bounce ideas off each other is great too. And we're lucky enough to have organizations like Volta
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But I don't know that we would have started the business if we didn't have, another person to kind
Yeah.
of help work through some of those initial hurdles and kind of
Okay.
bounce those initial questions off of. So I'd say if it's an individual, definitely look into stuff like that, like Volta. I know they definitely have social programs and you can go in and kind of pitch your idea and see what people think and just kind of get as much feedback as you can, meet as many people as you can.
People are also normally pretty open. Like if you talk, like go to any event and you just talk to someone who had started a business or someone in your industry, like most of the time, if you say like, hey, I'm looking to like start a business, people aren't going to just like clothesline you and walk away. Basically, like, they want to like most of the time people will kind of say like what their story was or the issues that they ran into. We haven't really run into anyone that, or at least maybe they just don't reply, but we haven't run into anyone that just flat out says no. Most people are willing to kind of give you a hand, at least with some advice when you're first starting out.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we at Action Coach think that fear translates into false expectations appearing real. So sometimes you
Mhm.
just have to go out and do it and start. And you know what? You might fail, but you're just learning. And so it's not a failure. You're just getting better and better along the way. So I think that that's some pretty solid advice for anyone who's thinking about getting going. So
Mhm.
Nick and Greg, I really appreciate your time here today. And
Absolutely.
I look forward to future conversations.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having
Greg.
You're
us
welcome.
on.
Yeah.
Have
Thanks
a
for
great
having
You're
us.
day.
welcome. Cheers.
Bye.